Hey everybody, let's take a look at module number 6. Module 6 is, this is like one of the first steps that we're going to be doing leading up to our last big final writing assignment, project number 3, which is the argumentative essay. And what we're going to be looking at primarily here is the research process. It's titled Researching the Conversation. So if we started with you read something and you reacted to it, like I read this and here's what I got out of it, and then we went into like here's a couple different sources and here's what they're saying, and here's what the overlap or the similarities, the differences. Now what we're doing is we're looking at, okay, look at all this stuff that I found. What does it say? How is it going to be used? Is it going to be really relevant for my topic? So we're going to be researching the conversation, and this is going to lead us up into these are one of those leading up steps for the argumentative essay. So right here we have our learning materials and our assignments and our objectives. And then let's just jump right into what that big writing assignment is going to be. Writing project number 3, which is the argument. Now, just to be clear, in this in the course, as we get close to week 8, you're also going to be you're going to see it called the argumentative essay, or the researched argument paper. So you're going to see it named a few different things. But they're all the same, right? So what we're going to do this week is the actual research component of that. So you don't have any paper due this week, or at least the writing of the draft or anything for this week. That will be, the first draft will be due week number 7, or module number 7. So what we're looking at here is a final version that is 1,250 words in APA or MLA style. And this is an argumentative essay. And what does that mean? So first off, you're going to take a very clear stance on a topic. That introduction is going to get our attention. It's going to lead us in. It's going to set the tone. And then it's going to deliver that argumentative thesis. That thesis statement is going to be very clear as to your position. Where do you stand on this issue? Now, be careful that you don't misunderstand that. We are not using first person in this. So it's not going to be I think, or I believe, or whatever. We're going to leave that out. It's going to be like, this is, whatever the topic is, right? And you're going to deal with that as a third person or as an object, taking yourself out of this paper. That's really important for this, because as an argumentative essay, we really want the audience, the reader, to focus on the material, and we want them to evaluate that, not evaluate you. In the body of the essay, you're going to have those supports to back up the claim that you're making. You're going to say, this is, here's the point, here's the position, here are all the reasons why, here's all the backing and the validation. And then you are really going to use those kinds of rhetorical devices that we're looking at to help you structure and arrange that argument in a way that is very powerful and really get your point across. Again, you're going to use APA or MLA style. We'll talk more about these half drafts. The half draft will be due week number 7, and then the final draft will be due week number 8. That will be the last major paper that you do for this course. So we look at we have another check-in, a closed theme reading check-in. This time that's going to be a little bit different. We're looking at the background readings, and we want you to select one of the background readings. Now, when you go to the reading list, they'll be at the bottom. They'll be labeled background readings. You're going to pick at least one of those. It does say that if there's another source that you find that you could really use, that would be acceptable. But I really think that the background information here would be really helpful. You pick one of those. You do you just kind of use these questions here to help you kind of express what you found in that. Again, this is a way for you to have exposure to another reading, another piece of material that you might use for your argumentative paper. And then we're going to turn you loose onto the Ivy Tech Library's website, or the databases. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the databases. All major colleges and universities have access to these. They subscribe, the library subscribes to these big database companies or these big databases, and the interface allows you to go search these things and find all kinds of different materials. Now, if you go into the library, and again, there's some tutorials and some things to really help you get, kind of get familiar with those. They're broken up by categories. They're broken up by, like focus and topics. There's a lot of different ways to look at those. Um, there is videos that cover the opposing viewpoints, the points of view reference site, the library ProQuest, and then the EBSCO hosts Academic Search Complete. The Academic Search Complete is the one I really recommend because that gives you the broadest sense of everything you can use. The thing I really appreciate about these library databases, if you did a Google search and you searched up whatever, you're going to find a ton of information, just innumerable, right? How do you know that's a good source? How do you know that's a valid source? How do you know that the information there is credible, right? And there are websites out there that specialize in creating those things that people use to validate a site, even though it's all fake, right? They have all the things that you would look for. And so if you did a Google search or another search engine, you're going to find stuff, but you really don't know how credible that is. But when you use the library databases, all the materials in it have been pre-vetted. Okay. So that means that when they took in this information, they know that whatever journal, whatever magazine, what source it was, that's a valid source. That's a real source. So you never have to question the validity of the sources that you find in the databases. Now, doesn't mean you have to agree with every piece of information you find, because it does have a wide range of viewpoints. So you can argue the information, totally fine, but the sources themselves are valid. And so you never have to worry about that. And that is one of the great things about this and why we really recommend that you use this. And for the exercises this week, we definitely do require that. There is an assignment here, Module 6 exercise using the library database. It's going to ask you to find a source, and then it's going to ask you some details on that, just to kind of show you that, just to make sure that you were able to find all the relevant information. We then have their online discussion board. The online discussion board this week, again, continues for you to find information and share it with the rest of your class. They want you to take the background reading or an article that you found while you're doing your research. Okay, so one of the two. Again, I really do recommend the background readings, but again, if you find something that's big, a little farther out there, that's fine. Especially, only if it's from the library databases, of course. So you're going to select one of these modules, or you're going to select one of these readings, and you're going to briefly explain the argument that you are pursuing. Like, what is it, the area that you're really going to focus on? And then what does this background reading have to say? What does this background reading share or show or detail, right? And then you're going to provide the complete APA or MLA styled source information on it. Then you're going to go in and you're going to respond to at least 2 other people. And then there's a list of different ways here that you might respond to that. Okay. Some different questions that you might ask. These are here to get you started, to help you think about how to respond. You're not required to answer all of those, but I would pick 1 or 2 of those and use those as way to respond to your classmates. Okay. Again, as always, remember the goal is, the expectation is that you put up your first initial post midweek, Wednesday, Thursday, and that you respond to at least 2 other people by the end of the week. To get the most points, you're on there on multiple days, right? You're on there on several different days to continue that conversation, and to have the chance at the most points, you're looking at more than 3 different, or more than the 2 expected sources. If you do the 2, that's the expectation. But to get more points, obviously, doing more than that will help you do that. And then finally, we have our research activity, which is the mini annotated bibliography. And this is your first chance to really show, like, I got this source and there's something in it. What can I do with it, right? And so this is where you really kind of sell the source. Okay. So you've got your topic, you found these sources, you're going to take these two sources, you're going to annotate them in this mini annotated bibliography. Okay. And I really want you to think about, like, this is how I'm selling it. I'm really telling you that this is a good source that I can use. For that, what you're going to do, you're going to find those two sources using the Ivy Tech Library website. Okay. You're going to narrow it down to two sources that offer new information, a new angle, new looking at your topic, new perspectives. Okay. That they are legitimate sources that you could be using for your essay. And then you're going to do the annotation. Now, you'll start with the MLA or APA source documentation, the source citation. Okay. Then you're going to, as the directions here say, you're going to start with a description and summary. Okay. So that's probably going to be a paragraph or so, maybe a little bit more. This is where you say, hey, this is what's in this source. Assume that I have not read it. Probably I have not read it because you did the research on your specific topic. So I may not have read that source. Okay. Probably haven't read that source. So here's where you have to explain that to me. Now, like I've said before, the summary should be like that quick retelling. How would you retell it in 3, 4, 5 sentences, right? The big points, the big picture, the main thesis ideas, right? And then evaluate the source's effectiveness. Okay. So how is this, like what makes this a really good source? How do you know it's going to help you explain your topic, right? What is its credentials? What is its credibility? How do you know that this is a valid source, right? Like, what expertise did the author or the publication bring to this? What is its balance or this bias? And by that, is it a positive? Is it negative? Does it lean one direction or another? And again, it doesn't make it so wrong if you see that bias, but you do have to see it so you can understand how to use that information, right? You're probably looking at, a paragraph, maybe 2 for each one of the two sources that you found. Okay. So, again, as you are digging into this, I really do want to remind you that this is a step. This is going to help you get to be ready to do the writing. Okay. This is help you doing that research. As always, please make sure you're reaching out if you have any questions. We're getting close to the end. We don't have a lot of time left together, so that we want to make sure that you're still moving forward and we don't get behind. Because again, there's not any time at the end to get caught up, right? This module seems a little bit thinner. It might really be a little bit thinner, but then you're going to come back and do that half draft the next week, right? So module 7, you're going to have that half draft. And then module 8, you're going to have the final draft and the final exam, the final reflective essay. So you do have a lot more in module 8. So it's really important that you stay on task and you stay kind of focused and dialed in right now. As always, if you have any questions, please make sure you're reaching out to me. Good luck, everybody.